Hello, sports fans. Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am your host, Mark Adam, coming to you live from the WPG Sports headquarters, which doubles as my basement because social distancing is a thing. And this is also where I live, and I do all that stuff. I got my number one fan cup for Father's Day. So I'm going to drink out of my kids got me this, and it's got the little hockey stick as a handle. Very excited about that, to be honest. And yeah, we're going to just cruise along for the day. It's just me today for the first little bit, and I will be joined in a little while by Adam Johnston, one of the founding members of Red River Rising, the Valour FC supporters group. We're going to have some questions for him, and we're just going to sort of chat and have some fun. But before we get to that, I have a lot of other topics that I want to discuss with everybody. Feel free to go ahead and use our little chat box there. All you got to do is comment if you're on what's the word? Facebook. You can comment on the video itself, and they'll show up in the chat box. If you are on YouTube, you can chat live. If you're on Twitch, you can chat live, and all that shows up in our chat box. So, good times. That said, I'm just going to take a sip of this, because here we go. First up for the day, let's start with the Bombers, because I don't have a whole lot to say on them so much. Opener is August 5th. Very exciting stuff. Had Ed Tate on talking Bombers a couple of weeks ago, and you can find that archived on our YouTube channel. So go ahead and check that out. We also have this idiot running around. Well, he's arrested now, so I guess he's not so much running around as sitting around in a cell of some sort. So Patrick Joseph Robert Arseface Allard, I think that's his full name. He's 39 years old. He was arrested on charges for failure to comply with a condition of release. He was arrested when that anti-vax gong show happened down at the Forks with that idiot Chris Sky. And people call him Chris Sky because his last name is Sakochia. Anyway, whatever. Chris Sky. We all know who I'm talking about here in Winnipeg. And so this guy, Patrick Allard, was arrested at the same time as that other idiot. And one of the conditions of his release is he's not allowed to use or to plan any kind of protest. Or what was it? It says prohibits the promotion and organization of gatherings contrary to any order made under the Public Health Act, which includes gatherings without masks and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, the idiot gets out of jail, goes on social media, and starts talking about blockading the Bomber game with an anti-vax rally, saying, what was it he said? There's only... I forget where is it? Yeah, there's only two roads into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Stadium. I think we can block both with a rather small amount of people, because he doesn't think he can organize a lot. August 5th, ahead of their game. Obviously, that's, what's the word? Stupid. Stupid is the word. Just stupid. First of all, if you're anti-vax, this is not the show for you. I don't get super political or anything like that, but if you're anti-vax or anti-mask, or they're taking our freedoms, you have your priorities upside down. Shut up and go away. So sorry if I lost any viewers on that one. So it is what it is. But so this guy was planning this whole blockade, and I did reach out to the Bombers organization for a statement. Darren Cameron, who is the senior director of public and player relations for the Winnipeg Football Club. Well, actually, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I should be specific. There's a different guy for the Valour FC. So both of them fall under the Winnipeg Football Club. But anyway, I asked if there was any sort of official statement, and what he said was, and I will quote, "We are aware of this matter, and we are working with the Winnipeg Police Service as we do for all major events at IG Field. Planning and preparations continue as we get ready for the home opener August 5th. So that's their statement. They know what's going on. They're already working with the police, because they always do for all their events, because it's a huge thing in town. If you don't already know that, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are kind of a thing. And so yeah, they've sort of got that all covered. So it's just crazy to me that this is happening. It's 2021. Open a book. It's crazy how the people who are the least educated think that they know the most. It's crazy. Anyway, it is what it is. Get vaxxed. If you don't want to get vaxxed, then traveling is going to be hard for you. That's just, and it should be. If you're unwilling to protect yourself and others, then you should be unable to travel with others. Play nice or take your ball and play at home. That's fine. You don't need to be part of society if you don't want to be part of society. If you would like to be part of society, there are some rules. Anyway, that's as political as I'm ever going to get. And I'm sorry that I'm coming out of the gate hot, but it just gets my goat that people like this are trying to ruin it all for everyone else. They just are. Plus, can you imagine like these 20 people trying to block all these football fans from going to see a Bomber game? Bomber fans are nuts. Like they are avid fans of their team, and they will support their team, and they will literally drive through a blockade to do that. I am not condoning that. Bodily harm is never okay, but what your protest is doing is advocating for bodily harm by not getting vaccinated and blah, blah, blah. Again, that's as political as I'll ever get. This is that, but that's a point. It's a hill I'm willing to die on. So it is what it is. That's out of the way. Moving on. All right. So let's before we get into the draft picks that the Jets made this draft, let's talk about how cool it is that Luke Prokop. Yeah, Luke Prokop. He made history. He became the first player under contract to an NHL team to come out as gay. How awesome. And I bear with me. I'm going to read his full statement. It's not that long, but then I want to talk about it. I'm very excited about it. Hi, everyone. While the past year and a half has been crazy, it has also given me the chance to find my true self. I am no longer scared to hide who I am. Today, I am proud to publicly tell everyone that I am gay. It has been quite a journey to get to this point in my life, but I could not be happier with my decision to come out. From a young age, I have dreamed of being an NHL player, and I believe that living my authentic life will allow me to bring my whole self to the rink and improve my chances of fulfilling my dreams. I wouldn't be able to do this without my amazing family, friends, and agents who have known this about me and met me with love and support every step of the way. I hope that in sharing who I am, I can help other people see that gay people are welcome in the hockey community as we work to make sure that hockey truly is for everyone. I may be new to the community, but I am eager to learn about the strong and resilient people who came before me, and paved the way so I could be more comfortable today. This is just the beginning of my journey, and I'm excited to see where it takes me, both in hockey and in life. Thank you. What a great statement. First of all, that's super brave. Hockey is a place that has notoriously not been as welcoming as it should be. I played a lot of hockey growing up. Let me tell you, the dressing room was its own type of battlefield. Forget getting out on the ice and playing against the other team. Navigating all of that, and I did that as like your prototypical athletic straight white male, and it was still really awkward and had a lot of bumps and stuff along the way. So I can't imagine what it would be like to be a gay young man playing hockey in an environment that often uses the word gay as a derogatory term, as sort of a slag on whoever it is. Oh man, what are you, gay? Like, it's this locker room sort of talk has been prevalent forever, and hopefully it's 2021. We have come a long way, but there's still a lot of road left. So this young man, super brave. I'm super happy that he did that. And the Predators, Obviously, well, I mean, I don't say a lot of nice things about Gary Bettman, but when he came out and said, "Listen, we want to support this kid," and he said some really nice things. Anyone who's connected to the NHL, whether front office, coaching, what do you say? We want everyone to know that whoever you are, you have a place in our family, which is awesome. It's really nice words. Hopefully, that gets backed up with action. We don't know. No professional NHL player has ever come out as gay before. This makes history. This is the first time ever. Luke Prokop, remember the name. Brave man. Whether he has an epic Connor McDavidian sort of career or he has, 2 years in the NHL and doesn't quite make it, whatever his career is, you're going to want to know this guy's name. He's broken the barrier. He's broken the ice. Now, people who are behind him should feel more comfortable. Not that everyone has their own comfort levels, but I would really like to think that people coming up behind him will have a little more incentive to truly be who they are, whatever that is, whether that's gay, whether that's trans, whatever their thing is that society has typically said no to. I really hope that this opens some doors for them, and I love that that's happening. He's part of the Nashville Predators organization, and it's pretty awesome that he's what's he, 19 years old? Yeah, 19 years old, from Edmonton. He's plays for Calgary in the WHL, and I can't overstate how brave that is, being not just coming out as gay in that community, but being the first. That's it's when you're the first, then there can be a second, and then when there's a second, there can be a third, and progress happens when people break through and do things like this. So this young man, Luke Prokop, kudos to you, sir, and I really hope that coming out as gay does not in any way hurt or hinder his career. I would be heartbroken to find out that him coming out as gay ruined his opportunity to play in the NHL because of bigotry and backwards minded people. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now we can actually get to the draft. Should we start with let's start with Montreal, because they drafted a gentleman, Logan Mailloux. He was originally from Ontario, but was playing in Sweden, and he was convicted under Swedish law of he had taken illicit pictures of him and his consenting partner in a sexual act, and then he shared them and her identity with his teammates. Shared this picture, which is disgusting, obviously. But he's been part of the organization for a while. Sorry, I got a phone call there. I got confused. But no, he's now part of this organization that for a while has been preaching that character is such a big deal. And I grew up a Habs fan. It's just how it is. So I'm just anyway, I think this gentleman needs to really think about where he's at. He has come out a couple of times now saying how, what's the word? Repentant. sorry. He he feels a lot of sorrow and all this, remorseful, and he's used all these other words, but this is such a hard subject to talk about, especially when you're sitting here by yourself. There's nobody to bounce things off and talk about the what ifs and the this, that, and the other thing. But he did release a statement before the draft saying, I would like no one to draft me so I can take this extra year to really work on myself and show that I'm, I can be a better person and work on who he is. And then of course Montreal drafted him anyway. And now Marc Bergevin is under scrutiny because, he's got this whole, we're integrity sort of message. And also there's some stories going around now with who knew what in Chicago when this other person was involved in sexual exploitation of young men and things. And it's not a cut and dry black and white sort of thing. Some people have come out in support of Mailloux, saying that, he was found guilty. Through the law handled what it did, and now it's time for him to move on with his life. And others are saying it's like Montreal should be ashamed of themselves for having him brought in and all of that. So it's just a thing, I don't even know, but I wanted to touch on it here. I don't have the answers because I don't know enough about the situation. I know that there's a lot of heat on both sides. The people that are defending him pretty strongly, but the vast majority of social media chatter is condemning the move by Montreal and they called him, what was the word? Because it's come up in a few rape trials and sexual exploitation trials and things like that, where young men who have a promising young man, that's what it was, because they have a promising future. Should we allow this one mistake to ruin this promising young man's future? Well, someone else's life is irreparably damaged as a result of their actions. So that person has to live with the damage they caused forever. So what is the proper, way to deal with this situation? Is it let this person go off and like, hey, he said sorry, so now he can go make his millions of dollars in the NHL and blah, blah, blah. But professional sports have never really held themselves to the same standard as the courts do. Look at NFLers, famous guys. Ray Rice, for example, played after Michael Vick ran a dog fighting ring. He ran it. He wasn't part of it. He ran it, essentially. And he got to play again. And so professional sports have never really held players accountable for their off-ice actions as much as people would like, without a significant amount of vocal backlash. And this is a very complicated situation. So I'm going to leave it there because I don't have anyone else here to sort of bounce it off of. So I'm just bringing it up. I want to throw it out there. If you have any comments, make sure you're commenting along. I would love to hear what you all think about this particular situation. It's crazy, but it's happening, and it's 2021. We're all supposed to be a little more woke, a little more socially conscious, and all his statements read as, listen, I'm sorry, I've done a bad thing. I recognize that what I did was bad. When he did it, he was still a minor. I think he's 18 now, but he was a minor when this whole thing happened. And so does that change the state of things? That's there's a lot of gray area here that you could argue from both sides. So I would love to know where you sit. Do you support this man being able to play in the NHL? Do you think he should have to take the year off, which is what he originally had created a statement about, like, avoid drafting me because, and then of course the Canadians draft him, and that's stirs up this whole poop storm, let's call it. So let's keep your eyes on this story. We'll be talking about this again, and we'll see where it goes from there. I'll save that for after. That's going to be when we have our guest on. Let's get to the draft. Owen Power goes first overall to the Buffalo Sabres. He's a University of Michigan player, so in the Big Ten. He's a Canadian, and he is a defenseman. He, by all accounts, was going to be the number one pick, so it wasn't a big shock to anybody when he was chosen. Seattle Kraken got to go next. They took Matty Berniers. I'm sure if he's from the States, it's probably Berniers or Berniers. It probably doesn't say it the French way. But so Seattle Kraken's first ever draft pick, obviously expansion draft notwithstanding, their first ever draft pick, Matty Berniers. Congratulations to them. And then we're just going to jump straight to the Winnipeg Jets, number 18th overall. The guy with possibly the coolest name on the whole list, Chaz Lucius. He sounds like a record producer in one of those like sleazy pornos, Chaz Lucius. Let's record your album. Let's get it spinning, Anyway, I digress. A great player, playing in the USHL. He's a U.S.-born individual, centerman. If you go over and have a read of what the elite prospect said about him. By the way, we're not going to post all this draft stuff on the WPG. There's just too much of it. That is what Illegal Curve is for. So if you go over to illegalcurve.com, all this information is over there. But Elite Prospect said about Lucius, he can work the 1 and 2 touch snapshot with power and precision, send the puck on net with deceptive downward force, loaded wrist shot. He has great vision. What I did like what they said, if someone's open, Lucius is going to find them and he's going to get them the puck. So he's got this great vision. He can see the game. He can find his teammates. He can anticipate. He's got great timing, and he's got great movement. And what was very cool was he was interviewed by the Illegal Curve fellas actually, and they were asking him to sort of describe have him describe his own style of play, and he said he models a lot of his play after Mark Scheifele, which, since he's been drafted by Winnipeg, is either a very cool coincidence or the smartest thing to say, because people in Winnipeg love Mark Scheifele, Keith McKnight notwithstanding. My usual partner here. Kerry Bilkowski in the chat says he seems like a very promising prospect, and I agree. He does indeed look like a very promising prospect. So we've got that going for us. The next pick down the list was Nikita, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Chibrikov. I don't know, but he was part of the KHL. He's not a big guy. He's 5'10", but he's a left shooting winger. The lowest he was ranked was, let's see here, 39 by Elite Prospect. So that's pretty low. But the highest, somebody had him, but they only did EU skaters apparently. But number 4. Somebody had him ranked number 4, this Chibrikov fella. So pretty exciting. Basically, he's a bulldog. He'll run you over, but he's got precision movements. He's very rapid hand KHL Rookie of the Year last year, says Kerry Bulkowski. I did not know that. He fell to us? Yeah, because he was chosen, what was it, 50th overall? So, yeah. It was he was ranked a lot higher and somehow just sort of slid down the rankings there, I think, which is what you're trying to say there, Kerry, in the chat. So yeah, I'm excited to see this kid play. Again, you want to read a little bit more about him and see an interview with him, head over to illegalcurve.com. They have all that over there. Pardon me, the WPG, we're just going to cover the games, and we do our weekly wrap up here on the LZ Sports Show, and that's where we're at. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show and or their website is the home for Jets and Moose hockey for sure. We're not going to try and compete with them on that level. They've been doing it for too long and they're really good at it. So let them keep doing it, and we'll just keep benefiting by having their information available to us. Sounds good? Sounds good. The next pick was Dmitry Kuzmin, a defenseman playing for Dynamo Moldechno. No idea. Somewhere in Belarus. I've realized that as I get older, I have less and less ability to adapt to other people's names. I used to be very good at it when I was a kid. I would see a name and I would go, oh, it's from this place? Well, then it must be pronounced like this. But in my old age, I feel like that old guy's like, whatever the kids are saying these days. Anyway, I'm sorry. But by all accounts, this kid is a hard worker. He is a great player on and off the puck. He's not one of those stay-at-home defensemen, according to the reports from Elite Prospect. So we'll see how this guy fits in. Another guy who's a little bit on the shorter side, 5'10", so not a monster by any means, but the scouting report on him, if you head over to the Winnipeg Jets website, so winnipegjets.com or nhl.com/Jets, whichever way you want to get there, same thing. They were saying that he's not a tall guy, but he's thick, like he's solid, and he's very, very strong. So that's good news. We need somebody like that on the back end. And the last draft pick there, Dmitry Rashevsky, 6'1", right winger. He's a 20-year-old, so it's a little different. He's a little older. He was passed over in the last two drafts, but this year, apparently, he's made a lot of improvements to his game. He's gotten a lot stronger, and he's been called a classic example of a late bloomer, was what I read on the kid. So exciting. They're excited about him. One of those things where he just now he's excited to come over from the KHL, he was playing in the VHL, which is the league below the KHL. It's like the KHL's AHL, but he's going to come over and he's going to play in the AHL and continue to develop. And they're going to see how that goes. Kind of a sleeper pick, went 146th overall, and that was the fifth round. I think he went in the fifth round. Anyway, doesn't matter. Very exciting stuff. Lots of talent added to the pool here in Winnipeg. We didn't get a fourth round pick because we had traded that one away. Cheval Day off doing Cheval Day off things. In Chevy we trust. A lot of talk about, hey, we only got this one defenseman and we picked him as our third pick, which was I couldn't even tell you what. I don't want to do the math. But he was ranked as high as 42nd, Dmitry Kuzmin, the defenseman we've chosen, but as low as 165. I'm going to scroll down and take the time to go. Wasn't the fourth round. It was the third round that he went. And where's the Winnipeg Jets? Winnipeg Jets. There we are. He went 82nd overall. 82nd. So not terrible. A little higher than some of the picks said he should go. It's but it's not far off from where it was. And there are a few saying, 42, 72, 73, 63, 59. So getting him 86th overall, or whatever I just said. 82nd overall. Yeah, so that's not terrible. Not terrible. Pretty excited that there's all these new talent. Now we get to, as Winnipeg Jets fans, anybody who's part of the community knows that it's time to start scrutinizing every single thing he does. Every single one of these players, figure out what they do that we hate. Are they cute enough? Do they fall down too much like Bambi? Do they, are they a nice guy? Do we like talking to the guy? How is he in the dressing room? Is Wheeler going to pick on him? We have a lot of questions, guys. We have a lot of questions. But that's sort of where we are going to leave it. And there's a lot going on today in the world of I guess us. So we talked about the first gay athlete in the NHL, the Jets picks, the Habs interesting choice, and Valour FC is now out of the bubble. So the bubble has ended. What the first 8 games in everyone's season in the CPL, it was called the Kickoff, and it was all hosted here in Winnipeg, and that is now complete. So we are going to be back in just a little bit with our guest from Red River Rising, one of the founding members. His name is Adam Johnston, and we will be right back. I'm going to throw it to a commercial. I'm going to bring up our Be Right Back screen, and then as soon as we are ready, we'll be right back here. Don't go anywhere. Ha 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 ha.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aquatech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aquatech job, it's an Aquatech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dougal Road. Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
All right, everybody. We are back here in the LZ. By the way, you can follow us on all the social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. We also, not that we don't do this for the money or the fame for that matter. We're doing it because we're fans of these teams here in Winnipeg. We want to show them some support, and we're very excited to do this and talk to other fans and other people who are excited about these sports. If you wanted to support the stream, you could go to streamlabs.com/thewpg magazine, and you could donate a couple of bucks. Whatever you donate, we'll end up donating half to a local charity, and the rest we'll throw in with our pot so we can keep the lights on and keep the show going and keep the website running, the WPG.ca. If you haven't checked out the WPG.ca, I highly recommend it. You can also send us a text if you're one of those people that would rather text or call. You're a voice chat kind of person. You can leave us a voicemail. The WPG Sports line, that's 431. I know, 431. It's not 204. I get it. Every day I get that same thing. But 431-800-4555, or you can email the LZ at thewpg.ca. We would love to hear from you one way or the other. Whenever any subject comes up on the show, if you have an opinion, if you have a question, if whatever, send us all of that. We would love to hear from you. Again, you can text or call that number. And that number again is 431-800-4555 for those listening to the audio version of this show. The other thing is, if you are looking to advertise on the show, that is a thing as well. Or if you want to advertise on the WPG.ca itself, plus we have some very cool projects coming up. I don't want to give anything away, but there's some really cool stuff coming up with the WPG. So you can advertise with us. Call 431-489-2401, or you can text that, I suppose. But calling is obviously, that's what that's for. Ads at the WPG.ca is where you can send some emails, and we would love to get in touch with you. The website itself is, I think, pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, if you go to wpg.ca/sports, that's where you find all the stuff that we talk about here on the show, amongst other things. And one of those things happens to be Valour FC. So Valour is, they're done their 8 games in the bubble now, sitting on top of the table, 18 points out of a potential 24, 8 games, 3 points per game, which is a system I think the NHL should adopt, and I keep saying that over and over again. Anyway, do you think that the NHL should adopt that system? Because I think they should. It's a personal opinion. I just think they should. I think it makes a lot of sense. I've explained it a number of times before. If you want to have that debate, you can text it to me. Again, that number, 431-800-4555. I'd love to have some sports debates with you folks out there. That would be awesome. Don't forget that you can throw things in the chat box. So very coming up very shortly, Adam Johnson of Red River Rising will be joining me. And until then, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've seen from Valour, because I sit in the press box, which very cool because I have a lot of access to information and A little less cool because I don't get to sit down in the stands and be loud and drink a bunch of beers and get rowdy, which I really enjoyed doing in season 1. So all that said, the season itself has gone pretty well. They've won 75% of their matches, so 6 of 8. And they did it in spectacular fashion. They beat the defending champs twice. They beat Atletico Ottawa twice. They beat Halifax, and they beat York United. But they also lost a game to York United and lost a game to Halifax. So while they didn't go undefeated, the goaltending was one of the big highlights for sure for the Valour side. Jonathan Sirois spectacular season. He played 7 of the 8 games, and he let in literally 1 goal in 7 games. The Valour FC as a whole allowed 3 goals in 8 games and scored 12 goals. So a plus minus of 9, the goal differential of 9, I should say, plus 9. So very, very cool, very exciting. I'm just going to mute this other computer over here because that's what I should have done from the get. There we go. Yay! I'm really good at stuff, I promise. But the Valour FC, they're a completely different team from last year, and unfortunately, we had Andrew Jean-Baptiste gone. Tore his ACL, was having surgery, season ending. At the time of his injury, he was considered by many to be one of, if not the best player in the entire CPL. So huge loss for Valour FC. Really, really tough to lose a guy like that. Not only was he one of the best players, he was a co-captain, so all of the rest of that responsibility falls onto Daryl Fordyce. I think Stefan Cabara. See, names, right? Sabara, Cabara. But Stefan, he has definitely taken up the mantle. He's worn the armband a few times in the absence of either of those 2 co-captains in Daryl Fordyce and the Beast Jean-Baptiste. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough go losing such an important player. But in the last game, they started Rodrigo Reyes, who is a Mexican player on loan from Chivas Guadalajara, CD Guadalajara, and he is a very good player in his own right. So it's not like the quality dropped off the deep end there. He's not. I mean, it goes without saying that he's not quite Andrew Jean-Baptiste, but he is a very good player, and he held his own. I thought he played spectacularly during that last game against Halifax. They lost that game 1-0, but I don't think that you can lay any of that blame on Reyes and or changing from, Andrew Jean-Baptiste. That ball that bounced out was absolutely just a weird bounce, and it was struck absolutely magnificently by Lamont. So, yeah, it was a tough one to lose. I thought they played a lot better, Valour did, than they did the first time they played Halifax when they won that game. So it was interesting to see them lose the game or win the game they should have definitely lost. The second game of the year, they got outplayed across the board in that game and came out with the win 2-0. And then to turn around and I thought like they carried the play. Their possession was, I think 65% of possession went to Valour. But the big difference was the shots on target specifically. It was like 17-5 in shots at one point in the game, 10-0 for shots on target for Halifax. At the end of the game, 0 shots on target. 0 for Valour. And I think the official count was 12 for Halifax or HFX Wanderers. So it wasn't typical. They generally don't get outshot like that, especially like shots on net. They usually get outshot in like shot attempts, but shots on target is definitely something that their attempts to on target ratio is very high, and they just could not hit the net on the night, which is what eventually cost them. Some interesting decisions not playing William Akio or Yared Uloa to start the game. So you didn't have those speedy guys that sort of take defenders and open up things for guys like Moses Dyer, Austin Ricci. Ricci generally has a little bit of help. So then that field opens up and he has opportunities to shoot. not a thing against Halifax. They didn't have anybody pulling defenders off of Ricci when he was making runs. So there was no way through. That back line stood tall for Halifax, and they lost the game. It is what it is, but overall the season has gone very well. Over a quarter of the way through, I think it's 28 games they play, so they've now played 8, and they're still 4 points up on the second place teams, which tied is Cavalry and Pacific. And I think if being all technical, I believe Pacific wins the tiebreaker there, however that works. But yeah, it's been a wonderful season to watch. I'm very excited for what the rest of the season is going to look like now that the teams get to go play on their own fields. It's crazy though. So many of these players on these other teams have never played a game in their own stadiums. Halifax, for example, being the last team he just played, Alessandro Rigi, he was saying in the postgame when I was talking to him, he's like, I've never played in Halifax before. Like, I've never played in the Fortress, he called it. But what a difference that's going to make for these teams when they go home. It's going to be a lot harder for Valour to win on these road trips and things now that the other teams have their own fans. Because so far this season, Winnipeg has had the benefit of being the hosts, and for the first few games there were no fans allowed in the stadium, but they still stood outside, like Red River Rising in particular, stood outside the gates and just cheered through the gates, yelling and drumming and screaming and singing songs and cheering on the team, and that was quite the boost to the Valour at the time. And then when they were allowed, fully vaccinated, double vaxxed people with their QR codes being allowed in the stadium to actually cheer them on, that changed the dynamic again. And, they keep increasing the number of people that are going because people are getting their vaccination documents and stuff sorted out. And it's pretty awesome that we're going to see yet another change. And now the bubble's over. So now the next game is in Edmonton for Valour, and that's going to be on the 30th of July. So unfortunately, if you want to watch that one, head over to onesoccer.ca. That's where you can catch all the games. And that's the basics of it. So very exciting times for Valour FC, for the CPL in general. It was sketchy there because year 1 was 2019, year 2 was supposed to be 2020, and then that whole year got turned into what became the Island Games, which was one short tournament that allowed the players to play a little bit and gave the fans something. But again, no fans in the stadium. Everybody had to watch it on One Soccer. So this year, the bubble starting in Winnipeg just to get the year going, because if they had waited, then there would have been, no season or another Island Game situation where you don't get a full season out of it. They really wanted to get a full season out of it. And so they're doing a little bit of cramming here because you'll hear a lot of the complaints that players and coaching staff have are based around, we have 2 or 3 days between each game. They don't get the week off. They don't get this. They don't get that. And there were some other complaints that came out afterwards. The biggest of which being Nico Giantsopoulos. Nicholas Giants is his Twitter handle, but he tweeted a photo of the York players wearing PFA, or Professional Footballers Association t-shirts. And his statement that went out says, "The past 5 weeks we were put in a hotel that didn't have a gym or pool for recovery, only had 90 minutes of fresh air per day, slept in rooms where dust continuously blew out of the air vents, drove on buses with no AC, and were served meals that were below average." Not a rousing compliment to the situation that they were unfortunately put in throughout the course of this. Mind you, now this is a statement, and take it at face value. That's bad, but you got to remember too, all of the teams, including Valour, were holed up in the same hotel. So that bubble existed for everyone. So that is terrible. If all of that is true at face value, the way it just reads, then that is definitely terrible. And a lot of questions are going to be asked of the CPL and Valour's organization and Winnipeg as a, what is Winnipeg's infrastructure and so the province of Manitoba pitched a lot of money towards making this work, and what was their involvement? What were the criteria that went into choosing where these players would stay? There's a lot of questions that this raises. But what it does answer is that we know for a fact that Nico did not enjoy his stay. He did not enjoy the experience the way that you would think that he would have, given until the bubble broke. Everybody was pretty quiet about if they had any complaints at all. It was pretty quiet, and it just sort of was brushed under the rug. Not a lot of time to train, not a lot of this, not a lot of that. So yeah, it's that is a concerning situation for the CPL to deal with and to talk about and to review, because the worst thing ever would be if something like this were to happen again and they don't fix this. They've raised concerns that this has happened. So, and I got Nicholas, Nikola. Oh, okay, Nikolaos. So Nikolaos GIANTS. That's his Twitter handle. So if you want to go see that tweet for yourself, a little bit concerning. There is a gym in that hotel for sure, but the gym, obviously you have 8 teams with, so you're talking like hundreds, 160 players total, I think it is, or so, plus because including staff and all that. The gym in the hotel probably wouldn't have been sufficient if that was the only exercise that they were able to get. And the lack of a pool that's a pretty big one for recovery, like he said. So it's a very concerning sort of situation. I don't know how that all will pan out, but I have reached out to Valour FC for comment, and I'm going to be reaching out to the CPL directly for comment, but there's no comment yet from any official sources that I am aware of. We will keep you apprised of that situation via our own Twitter account. So follow us on Twitter. Again, all our socials, Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, all that. You can hit us up. It's the WPG Magazine on all of them. So that's a very concerning situation. So I will be right back. I'm going to throw up my Be Right Back screen in just a few minutes. We're going to have Adam Johnston joining us from Red River Rising. We're going to talk about what he thinks of some of the things that we brought up and get his opinion on some other things we haven't talked about yet. So give me a couple of minutes, everybody. I will be right back. Thank you very much for your patience. All right, everybody. As promised, we have Adam Johnston joining me wearing a different Valour jersey than I am. I'm wearing the 2020 kit.
And I'm
This is the
I'm
2020
wearing-
kit. And
yeah,
then
this is a community kit.
and then we got this guy over here, Adam Johnston, founding member, Red River Rising. He is wearing the community kit, as you just said. So welcome to the show, sir. Sorry about all the chaos today. It's been a day for me. It's been a day.
Actually, Chaos is my middle name. One of my jobs I have to deal with is nothing but chaos there lately. I'll get into another day in my autobiography, but yeah, I can understand your pain, sir.
Yeah, my job most of the time is just put out this fire, and now you're done. Put out this fire. So anyway, it is what it is. But Valour FC off to an amazing start on the year, right?
Yeah, I honestly at the beginning of this I thought if they finished without a bubble at the top 4, I'd be really happy. But I'm actually very, very pleased with what's happened. We basically got like 18 points, 18 points there, and looking pretty decent so far.
Yeah, they're looking great. Like their possession has been good. Their counterattack has been deadly. They were absolutely not able to get their counter going against Halifax in the last match. I said before you got on here, I was saying it was kind of funny that in the first game that they played against Halifax, so Valour's second game of the year, I feel like they got absolutely outplayed and they still managed to come away with the win. And I feel like yesterday in that match against Halifax, they absolutely outplayed Halifax. They just couldn't get at net and they ended up losing the game. So it's just kind of funny how that works sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's sometimes the way the ball bounces. I've seen games where a team has like 35% possession and they actually end up winning like 2-0. So it's a rare day, but it happens. And I mean, I could tell also yesterday that they were missing Andrew John Baptiste, though, I think as well, partially as there's an element of that as well. I noticed in yesterday's game.
I feel like they felt that on a moral level, like a morale level, like. Yeah. But like, I thought Reyes did a great job stepping in. I thought he played very well. I think he held the middle down quite effectively, let's call it. And I don't know. I don't know if Andrew Jean-Baptiste had been there, would that have changed the game at all? I don't know. I don't feel like it would have, the way that the game went. The goal that Halifax scored was off a weird bounce and a beautiful volley. Like, what are you going to do on that? Jonathan Sirois, his first goal conceded on the year after 584 minutes, I think it was. So
yeah, that's a crazy stat right there. Like Sirois, like just clean sheets every game he's played until yesterday is quite astounding. Like,
yeah, and if you read the article I wrote on the WPG.ca about the game. One of the things that was cool was that Jonathan Sirois was the player that we got to talk to in the post-game press conference, and he had nothing but praise for his teammates. And one of the things he said was, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm the one that has I get to carry that record, but it really was a team effort, is what he said. So I'm paraphrasing. The actual quote is in the article, but that's basically what he was saying. Was like, I get to carry the record as a personal thing because I'm happen to be the goalie, but the guys in front of him played so well that it really contributed. So very exciting times to be alive if you're a Valour fan, sitting on top of the league. How much do you think that the game is going to change for Valour now that they have to go play on foreign soil against hostile fans?
That's a very good question. I'm really interested to see how it's going to work out myself, how Valour plays on the road. I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think it'll be a little more challenging, that they're going to have to go on the road in hostile territory in many of these places like Pacific. Believes their first road game, so that'll be interesting. That'll be a good test, I think. 1 versus 2. That'll be fun to watch. Valour play Marco Bustos and company. And yeah, like if they can get at least 2 wins out of the 4 road games, I'd be very happy and out on this road trip. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how this all plays out. It's going to be interesting to watch the Valour respond, given that now they're accustomed to playing in front of people that actually want them to win, and now they have to go play in behind enemy lines, and they don't have the benefit of Red River Rising either being in the stands or even outside the gate yelling in and singing into the stadium. So
yeah, I think that was the first month with this bubble. That was the advantage Valour has, that it had the supporters making loud noise outside the gates there, which is very helpful for them. Then there was fans in the stands at most of their games. But now that the expectations have been raised with this bubble and the results they've gotten, supporters are going to be looking for a lot more now, I think, with this team moving forward for the rest of the year. Yeah,
and that now everybody's gunning for them, right? Like everybody's over them being the underdog, and now everybody's like, oh crap, like yeah, they shocked us, but they're still going, they're still winning. We're over a quarter of the way through the season, and they're still in first place.
Yeah, like practically almost the third of the season's done already, and they've got like 6 wins already, which is almost as much as like first season.
Well, exactly, right? So what a difference from then to now. Rob Gale's plan, it's working well. The players they're signing are working out really well. Rafael Gallardo isn't getting the playing time that I think that he would like, and I don't think that he's getting the playing time that Rob Gale would like to give him, but it's a matter of making sure that he is match fit because he had that extended quarantine. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all sort of plays out at the end of the day. What did you see the tweet that Nico Giansopoulos put out about the quality of the accommodations that the CPL put up for them?
I actually caught the last tail end of that part of the last segment there, and you did read that tweet, and I was kind of interested in what he said, and it also highlights a lot of some of the issues that have been raised during this whole tournament by some of the players, including concerns about heat, playing during extreme heat during some of these games. There was like plus 32 in the afternoon. I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, in the middle of the day. Why didn't they move it to the evening? They moved a bunch of games to the evening because they knew a heat wave was coming, but they left a couple of those games mid-afternoon in the beating sun.
What I found ironic was when that game happened and they're playing Forge, that was the day of the Euro 2020 final, and like that game probably should have been moved to like later anyways, because most people would have been wanting to watch the Euro final anyway. But that was just, I know that Andrew Jean Baptiste actually tweeted about that right after the game. Is like the conditions playing that heat were ridiculous for these players. So that was one glaring thing I did notice about during this bubble was conditions, and then also that tweet you mentioned is like raises the idea of just having the idea of a players union and the players wanting this recognized by the Canadian Premier League. I think is very important. So,
and I'm curious because one of the things he said there, drove on buses with no AC, that sucks. I get it, but whatever. Like,
yeah,
that part I'm willing to write off. That's all the teams rode on the same buses. It wasn't like these buses were, this team gets a good bus and this team gets a crappy bus.
No, they're all the same.
Yeah. So, but what he said, what constitutes below average for a meal? That's Like, what does that mean? Not enough food?
Yeah.
Not the right types of food? Was it just poorly cooked? Who was cooking it? Was it the hotel? Was it catered? Like, there's a lot of questions that aren't answered by that.
Yeah, I do believe his tweet is well-meaning. I think he did raise some key concerns, but when you get to food, you got to remember this is like the Radisson Hotel. This isn't like a low-end motel here. That they were staying at.
And that assumes that they're catering it, right?
I would assume so. Like, I don't know what type of food they do make there, but I mean, I would assume it's okay. But I mean, it still depends on like what that player was expecting, right? Too. So
yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to go look at the hallways, look at the rooms they stayed in. See what they mean about this, the dust continuously blowing out of the air vents. That, like, I know a lot of times when you go to hotels, the hotel windows don't open. They just don't. So fresh air from outside is not a possibility. The gym and the pool for recovery not being, like, well, there was no pool, but the gym, the thing definitely had a gym, but whether it could accommodate 160 players and staff and all that stuff, that's a whole other thing. But the lack of a pool is a big thing. I wonder what criteria were put out there when places were bidding on having them, right? And I'd like to know what other places bid for that sort of a situation, right? So it'd be I'm curious about that myself. I mean, I know that the province did provide a lot of money towards this, and as well, like when this factoring and decided Winnipeg was, I wonder what other hotels could have been considered besides the Radisson. I know it was like closer, but I mean, it was downtown, but I'm sure there was other hotels that were closer towards the state and they probably could have thought of, but again, I don't know what the whole bid process was, so I can't say for sure at all. And you mentioned the Manitoban government, which I mentioned earlier too. They pitched in to this sort of thing, and they put a lot of money into it. And so the question that a lot of people in Manitoba are going to be asking is, how much blame can we put on Pallister? Right? That's a question that a lot of Manitobans are going to ask. So, yeah, I honestly won't get into politics. I don't want to get into politics either. I just thought that was a funny thought. No, but actually, no. But I think that's a very valid point. How much money was they put in there? But regardless, there's gonna be a lot of questions asked afterwards by people about this bubble, like conditions at the hotel, but also playing conditions as well, and just the lessons that I hope the league learns from this. While it was successful, there was a lot of issues that they can learn from this moving forward if they ever face a situation in future season, if they ever needed to do a bubble for similar types of scenarios. So yeah. So the questions I have walking away from that tweet are, how much of that is legit? How much is exaggerated? Right? So okay. What is the reality of the situation? And then you start talking about blame. So how much of that falls on the hotel? How much of that falls on the province? How much of that falls on the CPL? How much falls on Valour or the Winnipeg Football Club as the hosts? Because our players, the Valour players, were in the same hotel, breathing the same potentially dusty air, eating the same below average food, riding the same air-conditioned free buses. So I would have to think that maybe none of the blame falls on Valour or the WFC, but the CPL would definitely have to take some of the blame if these allegations are factual and not exaggerated in any way. And because I know that they were limited in their time outside because they're supposed to be in a bubble and they need to limit contact with the outside world, and that's kind of the whole point. And but how much time do you then get to spend actually training? How much time do you get to spend kicking a ball and actually working out and doing that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems with this, but it starts with, how much of this is fact, because that's important.
Yeah.
And then start blaming from there.
But also, and I think it's also I think that tweet probably is partially true in some aspects, and maybe the hotel, maybe like the gym, there wasn't enough time for them to work in a gym or, and maybe the air quality might not have been the greatest. It might have been dusty, but at the same time, you mentioned when you go into hotels, especially when you get into higher level hotels, if your windows are going to be generally closed. So, like I said, I think that tweet probably is partially true in some aspects, but at the same time, I'd like to see a little bit more investigation to these conditions, maybe at the league level or just
I think there's a number of investigation levels that can be made, right? The league level for sure, 100%. The province who put a lot of money into this should be looking into this. I think the city of Winnipeg, because now people are going to go, well, if we have to be hosted in Winnipeg, what are the conditions going to be like? So what does Winnipeg's infrastructure look like? Does the mayor have to say something? Right?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
So these are things that impact Winnipeg on a very large scale. We have an NHL team, we have an AHL team, we have a WHL team, we have a CFL team, we have a CPL team. All of these things are great, but people often complain about getting to the stadium, getting to the downtown area to go to the Jets games. Like these are the infrastructure of the city is now in question, and things like this don't go any farther to help that situation. When you do get downtown and you're staying like 2 streets over from the MTS Center, is your hotel are you gonna have clean air to breathe? You know what I mean? So I get that this was an extreme situation. They were stuck in a bubble. Their restrictions were above and beyond what the normal state of affairs will be, but this does raise a lot of unfortunate questions for Winnipeg and its ability to host major events such as this in the future.
Yeah, and that's certainly the case, and that would be, like I said, I'd be interested to see what type of investigation, if any, does come out of this, to be honest.
Yeah. And we'll leave that there for now. What I would like to step on to next is the season itself. Let's pick what was your most disappointing moment of the season? What like as because you're a big fan, as far as you're a huge supporter of the team. What was the most disappointing moment as a Valour fan this season?
That's a good question. I'd say when Andrew Jean-Baptiste went down with the injury last week, I think that was kind of like the most disappointing thing, because he was basically the backbone of the defense and one of the captains, and did provide a lot of encouragement. So I think that was probably the most disappointing thing, and how they fill that gap now will be very interesting to see what happens with that.
And then, just because I wanted to start with the negative so we could get to the high point, because for me, AJB going down, huge disappointment. I think it was more of a disappointment when I finally saw the information a couple of days later, where it was like he's done for the year. That was the moment. So the actual moment he went down on the pitch was like, oh, it's a moment of concern, but in the moment it didn't feel so disappointing. I think when they let in their first goal, I felt really bad for Silva, because he was itching to play, finally got a chance, and then we end up losing our first game, and he let in 2 goals, not just the one, but that first one, that was such a disappointing moment to just, no more clean sheets,
Yeah.
So,
but you know what's going to happen, though. You know what's going to eventually happen.
Yeah,
right?
but
unfortunately, De Silva.
But the problem is that Valour did such a huge buildup of like, no goals against, no goals against, no goals against.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was just this huge build, and then it was like, bam, there it is. So I thought that moment for me was like, you just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And it was again not so much because they got scored on. That again, like you said, that happens, but because it was Matt Silva that went in to give Sirois a break, and he gets scored on, and they come away with the loss. And like, so that moment, that goal to me was just a very disappointing thing because of the implications it has on that one player. Because now because sports fans aren't in the dressing room, they don't get how it works. So you see that, a lot of fans are going to be like, oh, well, that guy sucks. Why isn't Sirois playing? Like,
Yeah.
Maybe because they're playing a soccer game every 2 nights, and that's not normal, and the guy needs a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is possible for sure. And like I said, that Silva let those goal. The first goal was like, oh.
Yeah. What a great moment was when they redeemed themselves and absolutely dominated York in the next game they played. So that was a nice redemption moment. So
for sure, that was a nice redemption moment for sure.
Favorite moment of the year? You're like the highlight for you so far, up to today. What was your highlight so far of the CPL season as a Valour supporter?
I'm gonna say actually the 2 games they beat Forge in. I think that was the highlight. Those have been the highlights of the season because they never beat Forge up to this time. So the fact that when they're playing Forge their first game, I was like, okay, if we get a draw, I'll be kind of happy. But then they won that, and then 2 weeks ago they beat Forge quite handily at home in such rigid conditions. So I was quite happy there. So just the fact that they finally beat Forge not once but twice in the bubble was probably the highlight I'll take from this month that they in the bubble.
That was absolutely the moment when everyone in the CPL world decided, oh, it's not a fluke. Like, because I think it took that long for people to figure out that Valour FC was no joke. And I think part of the problem was they played so poorly against Halifax and still came out with the win that nobody thought Valour was actually a good team. That was not a great game for Valour. I mean, they didn't play really, really, really poorly, but they absolutely got outplayed in that game.
Yeah, that was actually my birthday, actually.
Happy birthday, you got the win, yeah.
Present. Yeah, just too bad I broke my arm cycling that day, but that's all good.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, it rained that morning in some spots, and I was in the Assembly Park, and I turned, and I guess there was that fly stuff on the ground. You mix it with rain, stuff? And then and I dislocated my left arm, and it is recovering. I am biking now, but this is a nice present on a 41st birthday. I won't forget for dislocating my left arm. So I was happy.
Happy birthday to ow. Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. Good.
Just don't play cake. Just don't play cakes going the distance while you're cycling. I think that was also a bad omen too.
Yeah, if you're gonna play Go the Distance, it's the one from Hercules. Yeah.
That's
I
true.
can go the distance. I will find my way. Anyway, so that was a great moment. Beating Forge for the second time absolutely highlighted that Valour was here. Valour's no joke. They are in control. It isn't just about home field advantage. They were controlling the play. It was great to watch. And I thought that was a great moment too. As far as individual moments go, I think that goal that Ricci scored when he absolutely picked that corner, that was highlight reel gorgeous. Like that was like Sports Center highlight of the night goal. Like it was so good. So good.
Yeah. I mean, Austin Ricci this year has provided a lot of those moments, which is something we didn't have in year one outside of like Marco Bustos and Petrasso. But like, I think there's more consistency this year I'm noticing. And like the difference between this team now and in year one is like night and day.
Yeah. The just again on the redemption thing, when they beat York, when they played them the second time and they beat them, that was a statement win. And one of the things that they were most excited about, and Daryl Fordyce was the player that we got to talk to after the game. And I asked him, I was like, so like, what did you think of that? You know, beating them after they beat you. He said, and one of the things he said was, yeah, when they scored their goals and they went up and cheered in front of our fans, we didn't like that. So you were in the stands for that. What did you think?
Yes, I was. When
they were cheering, when they scored and they were all up in your face.
Yeah, you know what? That was not a very good sight at all, considering that was like the first game that any fans were allowed back in the stands. So, and that second, yeah, they just went right up to us and just heckled us.
That disrespect,
like,
right?
Yeah, that's just, you don't do that. You just don't do that to the trench. You just don't.
No, not unless you're ready to hear a lot of loud, obnoxious noises come back at you. And again, that is what fueled them. Like you don't poke the bear. This team has gone at that point. They had gone 3 games in a row, winning 2-0 against 2 of the best teams from the previous year. And you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
like you just don't poke the bear, because that is what drove Valour to absolutely annihilate them in the next meeting. So I thought that was nice justice. Nice justice.
Yes, it was very good. It was nice to see them win 3-0. But just show York, it's like, yeah, just don't do that to us in our home crowd. You can do it in front of your own audience and have the trumpets play the Generation X music, do 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 do, but don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Yeah, that's not your. This isn't your house. You shouldn't throw rocks because they come back at you just as fast or faster. So it was. Yeah, I thought that was a disrespectful moment. What I liked was, if you notice, Michael Petrasso, former Valour player, was one of the guys. Like, he was in there cheering, but he was pulling the guys away, right?
Yeah,
I thought that was nice. And that
was class.
Yeah, and Petrasso and Bustos both, after their games, came up and said hello and clapped to the fans. So I thought that was classy. Bustos in particular, I thought that was extra classy of him. So but the future looks bright. We haven't played FC Edmonton yet.
We're going to play Calvary.
Yeah.
Or Pacific, which I...
well, they wanted to avoid all the West teams playing the West, because there's all the, the travel issues. So they wanted to get all the East versus West out of the way as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think they did what they had to this bubble, and that's great. But like I said, I'd be curious to see how we match up against a Pacific or a Calvary. Yet those 2 teams, I think, are probably going to be our big teams we got to watch out for, outside of Forge, obviously. So
top 5 teams, 4 of them are in the West.
Yeah.
Forge is the only team in the top
crazy.
5 that actually isn't in the West. So does that mean that the West is stronger than the East? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's just the way that the matchups went.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
You got to look at a team like Halifax, who are at the bottom of the table, and think that wasn't their best effort. They've got a lot of injuries they've been dealing with. Their head coach has been out since the start of July, right?
Yeah.
Because of he had minor surgery, and so they're running off their assistant coach, which isn't such a big deal. Ask the Montreal Canadiens; it can work. But then you also got like multiple injuries. Regi was the player that we got to talk to after the game, and even he said, like, I had a concussion myself. Like, we just haven't been a healthy squad yet, and so I think they're going to get more and more dangerous as they get their team back to full health. And the schedule didn't help with any of that being so tightly packed.
No, but I did notice one thing with Halifax yesterday. When I was watching the game, they did show glimpses of what they could be yesterday in that game. Yeah. Even though they didn't dominate in possession, they did show glimpses of, like, hey, we can go on a counterattack, we can score, we can be just as good as last year. So I'm not writing Halifax off at all yet. I mean, they're still 20 games left. So, and any of these teams can come right and win like 6 or 7 in a row. Yeah. So
I mean, Valour won 6 of 8. Like, who's to say that we can't lose 6 of 8 in the next run? You know what I mean? So, and also Rob Gale actually pointed out last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say. I keep thinking last night because the games should be later because of the heat, but whatever. But anyway, yesterday afternoon, Rob Gale was saying that, essentially we have 3 more bubbles coming up, like the way that the schedule sort of works. So,
right, yes.
So it'll be interesting to see just how much changes from now till, like you said, like 20 games left. It's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games in a short span of time, like about 2.5 months, or 3 months actually. 20 games in like 3 months. That's like a game and a half a week almost.
Yeah, it's 2 games a week for the next 2 months. Right?
Yeah.
So the schedule is pretty tight, even though the travel is still involved. I mean, it's not quite it's not every 2 days like it was during the bubble, but it's it's still gonna be a rigid, tough schedule for everyone, not just Valour. Everyone's got the same sort of problems going on, and that was one thing I didn't like. A lot of teams were complaining, there's a shortened preseason and we're playing such games in such quick succession. It's so hard to play, But Valour played the same type of schedule and had, like I said before, stayed in the same accommodations, and Pacific did the same thing, and they're playing very good soccer. And do you know what I mean? Like your situation is the same as everyone else's in a bubble. So that's the whole point of the bubble. So it was
And
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, I know some teams did have a little bit longer training camps than others. Like some kind of started like 2 months before the season, and Valour started theirs like 6 weeks before the season. Others barely like 2 or 3 weeks before the season, like the Ontario team. So
Forge and York had a hard time.
Yeah, Forge and York, and I could tell that did affect Forge
and Ottawa, to be honest. But Ottawa went off and
they went to Madrid.
They went off and trained with Atletico Madrid. So totally different.
And they
thing.
did play preseason games, so I can't, so Ottawa did get some preseason games, so they don't have the right to complain about this, but everyone was in that bubble. So,
and I've asked before, who was it you said, because we were talking about who should adopt Valour because Ottawa has Madrid, and you said, was it Barcelona?
Right.
Yeah. Right. That was a good one. Or what was your other one? Boca Juniors or something like that?
Yeah, Boca Juniors. Yeah,
that's a good one. I like that. You got your bases covered. South America, Europe, whatever. Who cares? So
yeah, for sure.
I like it. So was there anything else that you wanted to highlight from this season that just made you smile, that you think deserves to be mentioned? Because there's so much to talk about.
I think the one thing I'm going to say right now is the goalkeeping. We never had that in year 1 and kind of year 2, but this is like the year if I holy sweet Texas toast, we have goalkeeping. And that makes a huge difference, because if you remember year 1, there was games that were just we were not in it, because poor goalkeeping. But this is wow. It's we actually have a goalkeeper that can keep clean sheets.
Yep.
On a consistent basis.
And not just keep clean sheets, but do it in spectacular fashion, stopping penalty kicks.
Yes.
Last game against Halifax alone, before he got scored on, he stopped 2, not 1, but in the 7 minutes leading up to them getting scored on, he stopped 2 point blank shots.
Yes.
One off of a wicked kick. Regi got robbed, and one off of a header right off the line. He's got superb positioning, wonderful reflexes. Jonathan Sirois, he manages the game well. He was down on himself after that Halifax game because he thought he could have done a better job managing the game, knowing that his team was struggling.
No, I think he did what he humanly could. That was his best performance of the year in a losing
12,
effort.
12 shots on target, all of them with a little bit of quality to him, and he stopped all of them but one. Come on. Give yourself a break, man.
Yeah, you gotta. It's just you can't get them all the time.
And how often are you facing 12 shots against on target? How often is that happening? This year for Valour?
Not a
Once.
lot. Not a lot. Me once, yeah.
One time. Yeah, it's been a crazy year. I agree with you. Goaltending made a huge difference. I will also point out goal scoring has been a big difference this year. Austin Ricci with 4,
true.
Moses Dyer with 3, Andrew Jean-Baptiste with his 2 before being broken, and who else has? There's somebody else has a couple.
Can't remember.
We have 12 goals for, which is the second most in the league. And we have 3 goals against, which is the best in the league. Like both ends of the field,
that's insane.
Our goal differential is 100%.
That's huge.
What a difference. Having guys that can finish at one end and a goaltender that knows how to stop people from finishing at the other end.
Makes a huge difference. It's like not over a lie.
It's been a different kind of year for Valour. And I think if Rob Gale can hang on to these guys as long as he can, my fear with Sirois is we're going to lose him right away because he's that good.
Well, no, he's on loan.
He's on loan from CF Montreal.
Concern.
But so was Pantemis last year, and then we lost him. And anyway, and Sean Reyes came from the same place. But yeah. So as far as the MLS goes, by the way, I am a CF Montreal fan. Just saying. But so I'll be happy to see Sirois playing for CF Montreal in the near future. But I'll be very sad to see him not be in Valour colors. So,
I think that's gonna be the trick. Like, in future is like how to replenish the talent given a situation we don't have an academy that we can pluck players out of. It's gonna be basically a lot of loans to keep us competitive, and just a lot of just finding diamonds in the rough.
Yeah. And not to mention, Jose Galan has yet to make an appearance because he's been injured. It's been day to day this entire time, and there's no real timeline for him to be back. So one of these days, he's just going to show up in a game, and everybody's going to lose their minds, and it's going to be great.
You're going to hear like a louder. You're going to hear the crowd pop louder than a WWE crowd when John Cena came out against last week at Money in the Bank. So.
There you go. Yeah. So for all you wrestling fans out there getting the references, but yeah, it's going to be a huge deal when he steps on that field. I think when Gallardo is more match fit, like when he's finally up to that level where he can play closer to 90 minutes, that'll make a big difference. I think using Akio more and his speed will be better if they can work on him and his finishing. He's had a couple of opportunities where he's just absolutely punted the keeper right in the face. Like, you get all this space and you just kick it right at him. But his speed is unmatched. He's so fast. Oheen, when he gets moving in whatever direction he decides to go, there's a reason they call him the Rhino. He just goes through things. So there's a lot of positives happening for Valour coming up. And the rest of the season should be a lot of entertaining games.
Should be a lot of fun. For sure. It should be a lot of fun for the next 20 games, to be honest. Like I said, I think what can be make or break is this next few weeks of the road trip, and then coming back. As if they can get at least 2 wins or a draw, I'd be quite pleased. So we'll see what happens. I know they got to go right in the Pacific next Saturday, so that'd be a real big test right there. So
so it's the next few games for Valour are going to be harsh. FC Edmonton notwithstanding, although you never, ever want to count out a team, especially in the CPL, there is a lot of parity in this league. The teams that are doing really well aren't outplaying the teams that are at the bottom of the league by much.
No, they're not like losing the teams at the bottom aren't like losing 8-0, 5-0. It's a league that's got some decent parity.
Yeah, I mean, what's the biggest difference was 3-0 for us this year, right? So far?
Yeah, I think that was us beating York.
That was York, That was the revenge game. That third goal was just That one was for cheering at the fans. That third one, I was just for
sure.
icing on the cake at that point. The game was already well in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, the rest of the year is very exciting. Thank you for joining me today. For all of you at home, we will be back here next Sunday, 1:00 p.m. We're not doing AMs. I'm not asking you to be here past midnight, but 1 p.m. next Sunday, we'll be back here in the LZ. Thank you so much to my guest, Adam Johnston from Red River Rising.
Anytime.
I have been Mark Adam this whole time, I promise. And again, you can follow us on all those social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. The list goes on. We're the WPG Magazine on all of those. Don't forget, you can call and text and email us. So calling the WPG Sports Line or texting is 431-800-4555, or you can reach us by email, thelz@thewpg.ca. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. We will see you next time in the LZ.